your skin, that shit is popping, girl. Body on 10, damn, you got it, girl. You gotta boss up. Getting them checks, living your best. Racks up. Oh, keep walking with confidence. Effortlessly, you let them know who is in command. You just that and more. Don't forget it. God worked hard on you for sure. Lexus, Exodus. Shout out to my exes.
Class is in session every weekend with Sunday School with Lex. Connect with like-minded Black women every Sunday at 6 on the Lex's Exodus platform, where we have live panels and call-in shows in order to connect and share our stories, discuss divestment and other important topics pertaining to the plights of Black women, discuss self-empowerment and self-improvement, and much, much more. Tune in every Sunday at 6 p.m. ET at patreon.com/LexisExodus. See you soon.
Hey, boos, hey. It is Lexis Exodus, leader of the Black Women Exodus. How are y'all doing? And like always, if you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe. Please share. Please comment in the comment section. Let me know that you're listening. Also, if you enjoy listening to my content on the go, the show is now available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts for audio listeners. Go check out my Patreon community where you can get access to bonus episodes and exclusive content, and also a private community of like-minded divested women. It is linked below. Please also follow me on social media platforms. You can check me out everywhere on all platforms at Lexis Exodus. I also have a backup channel just in case something happens to this one. It is called LexX. That's LEXEX. You can find all of this information in the description below. This is another installment to my series called The Blackistan Zoo, where we profile the dusty derelicts, crazy creatures, and animals in Blackistan. Tonight, I want to talk about throwback dust. And I want to talk about this because we were having a private conversation in the Patreon recently during a Sunday School with Lex show. That premieres every Sunday at 6, and we have very thought-provoking private conversations with the group. So I encourage you to join it if you're interested. But anyway, we were talking about how Black women have the tendency to romanticize what they call old school wack love. So they'll say, I want love like my grandpa and granny had back in the day. And relationships just ain't like what they used to be. And those marriages withstood the test of time and had longevity. That's what I want. That's relationship goals. And what's happening is Black women say this because they're gauging the success of these relationships with surface level information. So their grandmothers and great grandmothers may have been married for 50, 60, 70 years. However, if you dig a bit deeper, you'll see that most of these relationships were problematic. Most of these women were miserably married, and they actually experienced philandering, infidelity, womanizing, a lot of degradation, disrespect, and abuse back in the day. I mean, let's use common sense. So it's these older people who raise the younger generations. And these new Nogs are simply mimicking what they saw growing up. So dusties of today are simply continuing the cycle of disarray and dysfunction that was displayed by their fathers and forefathers. So I want to talk about your throwback dusties. I want to talk about your retro dusties. And I want to talk about how most older Black women were simply miserably married and refused to leave for whatever reason. And that's why these relationships are not something that should be pedestalized and romanticized. Okay. So now that we know that, I want to get into this classic movie clip that demonstrates this of a Black woman complaining about the same old thing 3-4 decades ago. Child. So let's watch this and then we'll talk through.
They didn't even finish high school.
Girl, you know that's the truth.
That's what he left me for.
See, I always thought Flipper was the ideal husband, girl. You can never tell. They are all dogs. I promise you, they're all dogs.
You know what? We're gonna have to start dating white men.
Stop it,
Oh,
Joe.
no, I'm not.
No, it's true.
I'm not dating no white
It ain't no good black men out there.
Yes, there are, Nilda.
Most of them are drug addicts, in jail, homos. The good ones know they this shit. So they got 10 women at a time, leaving babies all over the place.
My marriage is wrecked. The man is gone. He's some white, and I still believe there's good black men out there.
Where? And the options? What are the options?
You know what the
Be
options
numb,
are?
be gay, or see somebody who likes you no matter what, Chinese, black, white, or whatever.
Wrong, Nilda. You're wrong as the day is long. They're out there. The problem is we're looking in the wrong places. We're looking someplace, I don't know where we're looking, but we're not looking at bus drivers or truck drivers or garbage men, and a lot of them are doing that. And we just won't give them the time of day. But they're good men.
How many men do you know, black men, who can effectively deal with a mate who has more education and makes more money? Not many. They freak, and y'all know I'm telling the truth.
I know, girl.
No, the fact remains is that we are losing our men. That's the bottom line.
A lot of this doesn't really so much have to do with the black men. I know it does, and I know we want to blame them, and it is their blame. But part of it is that these white throw themselves at black men. Do you see the way they look at them? You can't walk down the street with your man without 29,000 white coming on to them, and they will give up the because their fathers tried to keep it from them all their lives. When they turn 18 and they leave home, they're going to get that black. They're going to get it. They're going to get it. And it can be yours, or mine, and they want it. And they're getting it.
Deal with the black man for a minute.
Oh,
There's a lot of
Inez.
self-hate going on when he can't deal with his sister.
Yeah, but Inez, how would you know? You won't deal with a black man. How would you
Oh,
know?
no. I do date black men, but I also date Chinese, Latino, Jewish, the full spectrum.
That's not really a consolation for this particular
Well, it's not
argument that we're
supposed to be.
having.
All I'm saying is I know you think I should date black men, but I'm going to date who I like. Give me a man, regardless of the color of his skin, who is nice to me, who is sweet to me, and who I strongly believe loves me.
It's not about what color the man is. I am not the rainbow kind.
Yes, you are the reading rainbow. We know this about you. Drew, if it'll make you happy, honey, I will make a pilgrimage to Africa, the motherland, and find myself a true tribesman.
A true Asiatic black man.
With it down to his knees to keep me happy for days.
Zulu.
That's right, girl. I'm gonna give me some serious Zulu in the bush.
Do any of you know what it is like not being thought of as attractive?
I can't believe you ever believed that.
Drew, it's the kind of you buy into, okay? I was always the darkest one in my class, and I know you know what I'm talking about. All the guys ran after the light-skinned girls with long, straight hair, and that left me out. And it's that same kind of thinking that leaves us out when it comes to white women. Now, back in the day, brothers would get sisters that looked like you, Drew, and you, Vera, you know? But now, light skin ain't even good enough. Today, brothers are going for the gusto. I mean, the real McCoy. That's why Flipper's gone. White girls got it made. The whole thing, everything that we've been doing, and everything in the society, we just keep on doing the same thing over and over.
Yes.
Keep on telling ourselves, negating ourselves, our own value. Look at the brothers who are successful. Look at them. Most of the brothers who have made it got white women on their arms. Okay? In order to go up that little ladder to success, seems like you got to have Miss Thing on your arm. Their responsibility level isn't the same as
It's not a
ours.
question of responsibility. It's just a fundamental disrespect.
Disrespect
for women.
God, I mean, I don't care the best man. It's hard for him to say no. Some stare him in the face. I'm sorry. I don't know the man that's been born that's gonna say no to here. Look around here. Ain't nobody looking. He gonna fuck you. I'm sorry.
Okay?
If you're in a committed relationship, then you are supposed to be able to say no. It's the art of no theory for me. Okay? If you know that you're involved with this person, you have no business. And I know that there's such thing as, I mean, you're gonna get turned on and all that. You're gonna see somebody you wanna. But your mind's supposed to tell you, I have a committed relationship here.
right.
I have a wife. I have whatever.
You know something, though? It don't even matter what color she is. My man is gone.
Child, this makes my head hurt. This is so much to unpack. I don't even know where to start. The black woman been complaining about the same ish for eons. So this clip is from a movie called Jungle Fever that was released in the late 80s, early 90s. But we see that 40 years ago, y'all, these mammies was still yapping and complaining about the same stuff they moan about today. And this is why I can't have a rule that I refuse to engage in circular arguments with Nogs and these type of women on my show. Because these chicks is having the same conversation 40 years later, y'all. It's 2023. This movie was released in 1991, I think. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is insanity. Yet people get mad at divested women for finally waking up and exploring our options. So y'all just heard her say the Dusties are either uneducated, drug addicts in jail, got a million illegitimate children, or they're gay. She even complains about colorism and texturism, y'all. So these Dusties been on this bullcrap. But for whatever reason, Black women are just now starting to wake up. After years of this, centuries, really though, y'all, I'm telling y'all, I've read stories about Frederick Douglass' wife being Black and muling and helping him get free from slavery. And he left her for a white woman, y'all. So this has been happening even since slavery days. It's just now that the development of modern technology has happened and allows us to document and to speak about this stuff. So Dusty's been dusting. The niggas been noggin. Black women are just now deciding to actually remove ourselves from this nonsense instead of simply complaining about it. These women even talk about dating the bus driver and garbage man as a solution. Does that sound familiar to y'all? So even that choose better rhetoric was prevalent back then. But here's the thing. They even knew that was gaslighting back then because she talked about how Dusties are weak and have fragile egos and they can't tolerate dating someone who makes more money and who is more educated than them. If that wasn't bad enough, we see the last woman talk about how all they're good for is peeing. So they admit they don't provide any stability, no protection, no provisions, no financial security or safety, just peeing. And I say this all to say that nothing is new in Blackistan. Nothing is new under the sun. Whack men have always been this way. They've always been dusty. So don't let them gaslight you, Black women, like something is wrong with you or your generation of women. You're too modern. You're too independent. Oh, I wish you were more traditional, like back in the day. Women have had these stories and experiences for decades. And if millions of Black women across the globe who are strangers, who don't know each other from a can of paint, who are from different generations, this is from the 80s, 90s, y'all. If they all are saying the same stories and have the same sentiments about a person, everybody else ain't lying. These sentiments are valid. Where there's smoke, there's fire. So don't let them gaslight you and victim blame and shame you and talk about and try to romanticize and pedestalize the Dusties from back then because they've been on this bull crap. And Black women are just finally starting to wake up and to move differently. Okay, I want to look at another old clip of a Dusty showing his butt and further illustrating even back then these Dusties been on this bull crap. So let's watch this and then we will chat.
How we doing? Hi. Hey there. Thanks for being here, guys. The Black men on today's show date only white women because they say that Black women are too hard to take. Well, the women on today's show say they are not having it and they plan to set these guys straight. Demetria is concerned with her close friend Fred because not only does he date white women, but he belittles his own race to do it. Demetria, thank you for being here. What is it you have to say about Fred?
Fred, all I know about him is he has an identity crisis. He doesn't even know who he is, so for him to be dating like he does, it's understandable because he thinks he's white. You know,
really?
Yeah, he does.
In what way does he think that he's white?
The music he listens to, I mean, I listen to different kind of musics, but when you get to putting yourself in the character with whom you're listening to and just out on the streets,
So you're saying he changes the way he looks, the way he acts when he's around. He tells people he's half Italian?
Yeah, Darnicio, half Italian and half Black. He says Black girls are demons and gold diggers. His baby's mom, she's white, and she's the biggest demon I know.
Fred, you say that all Black women are evil.
Yeah, that's right. That's
quite a statement.
How can you say that?
Because, no, first
Does that
of
mean
all,
your mother is evil?
No, mom's just straight. Because, like I said, if it ain't white, it ain't right. You know?
Well, I'd like to introduce you to Edward Stanley, who says his mother is the only decent Black woman out there, so he dates only white women. Stanley, why only white women?
Because I believe that Black women are materialistic and gold diggers.
You're making a huge generalization.
Most Black women, not all of them, just most of them. The ones that I've met are materialistic and gold diggers. All they care about is your outward appearance. They don't get a chance to know your heart like a white woman will get a chance to know my heart. I'm saying most black women, not all of them. So I said my mother is decent. That's the only black woman I deal with, and only black women that I love.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yes,
not to you.
That doesn't make any sense.
Do y'all see this mess? Do y'all see this? So we see a Nog who hates himself so much, he calls himself Darnicio and pretends like his black guy is Italian, y'all. And we see several of the Dusties denigrating and degrading black women on this talk show, calling black women demons and gold diggers and other nasty names. The one called his black woman relative evil, and he lives with her, y'all. It's like if niggas have nothing, they have the audacity, they have the unmitigated gall. If they have nothing else, they have the nerve. So how's she evil, but you living off her? It's the nerve for me, Nog. It's the gumption. It's the gall for me. And again, this is from the 90s, y'all. So they've been on this bullish. And I used to be a talk show junkie as a child. I loved it, y'all. I was a little old woman living in a little girl's body. So over the summertime, I loved to watch daytime television. I love to watch talk shows. I watched Jenny Jones and Ricki Lake and Mari and all of that. And I don't remember this episode in particular, but I do remember this being a recurrent theme and that this was a topic of several talk shows back in the day. And I also vividly remember wack men showing their asses and publicly denigrating black women in this manner. And this is why it always boggled my mind when they would say in the manosphere, talking about, oh, well, black women trashed us in the 90s. They would talk about talk shows like Oprah and other daytime television shows where they said black women put them on blast and dogged them. I don't recollect that. I don't, but I remember this type of content vividly. So this is what I mean. Don't let these dudes gaslight you and have you thinking that you crazy, talking about, oh, you're a modern woman. You need to get back to traditional values. They are the problem, and they have always been the problem. And we have documented proof of this ethics. So I want to go on record sharing this information because we like to easily forget. And they like to share this revisionist history and this problematic rhetoric that we were problematic back in the day when, in all actuality, they've been on this bull crap. So I want to look at this next clip of this old Dusty pretty much saying that the niggas wasn't ish back in the day. However, at the very least, they knew to come back home to their wives after they spent all day cheating and slanging peen everywhere. So let's watch this and then we'll talk through.
The young man today is too stupid to know he has a good woman. Back in the day, even if Pawpaw was a dog, he knew what a good woman was. You know, back in the day, Pawpaw might have married a good girl, a country girl, a church girl who didn't know much, you know what I'm saying? She might have went to a church that taught her a whole bunch of religious stuff because they didn't understand the scriptures. Oh, dirty women do that, or good women don't do that. Oh, no, I can't do that. I'm a lady. And she was kind of boring, and Pawpaw got bored, and he was wrong, but he'll step outside of his marriage and find some trash on the side of the road to play with, and after a while he'll play with the trash, and that piece of garbage woman will catch feelings and say, why don't you leave that woman and come over here with me? And Pawpaw had enough sense to say, whore, I'm not leaving my wife. You knew what this was when you got into it. I know what a good woman is. Stay right here. And then he'll go back to his woman. He'll go on back home because he knew what a good woman was. But the young man ain't like that. The young man ain't like that. The young man will have a woman at home who loves him, respects him, works hard, laid her life on the line to have children for him, prays for him. And the young man today will find some trash on Facebook or Instagram, in their DM, in their inbox, done got distracted, and leave their wife. And when they get with the trash, instead of the trash catching feelings, the young man catch feelings. Oh yes, I think this is a great idea. And you done left a real, actual woman for some garbage. You done pumped somebody full of kids, stretched out her body, wasted years of her life, and you going on down the road. The young man is sick. And we temperamental, we're so just emotional. I don't understand how we got all these big bodies and muscles and act like little girls. I'm not happy. I'm not happy. It's something wrong with us. We don't know how to endure. And, you know, society has messed with our women. I'm going to be for real. Society has messed with our women, told them a whole bunch of stuff that ain't for real, giving them a bad viewpoint of men. They don't understand what men really want and need, and they're being told by the media what a real man is and what women ought to have and this. And I'm sorry, you'll stay lonely. Everybody wanted to kill Kevin Samuels, but whatever. I'm not saying he was the guru, but I am saying that, Lord, we need another source because it ain't working. But even with that being said, our young men need to get this thing together. And I'm on here to say, Lord, help us young men. I'm trying to pray and be before God that God will give me wisdom to deal with this backwards generation.
This is what they do, y'all. So this is the rhetoric that we see spewed all throughout the community. These people love to romanticize things back in the day and act nostalgic about these problematic relationships. So he is essentially saying that, they don't make these new men like they used to. In the same breath, he expresses and openly admits how these old school relationships were full of niggas who wasn't ish. He talked about how Paul was a dog, how he would marry a good woman who was loyal and submissive, and a great mother and wife and doting. Child, he even said hardworking because the Nogs love a nice, fit and feminine mule that will work and slave at a 9 to 5 all day, then come home and slave for his ass too. And he even openly admits that with all of that, with the full package, like they say they want, they still cheated. The only difference is these old dudes knew to come back home. And he's romanticizing that, acting nostalgic about that. The bar is in hell, y'all. Seriously, the expectations are below the floor. Like I said, the only difference between old school whack love marriages is Black women were stuck. They had no choice but to tolerate it. These Dusties been on this bull-ish. I talked about this before. My auntie, I love her to death. She's been married to my bald-headed ass uncle for 60 years, y'all. They got married when she was 16. And she brags about how she worked 2 jobs the whole time. Still to this day, she works. And she's almost 70 years old. She's a deaconess in the church. And she'll sit there and baby him. She'll butter his bread, cuts up his food, won't eat, won't sit down and enjoy her meal until he's served first. She's a submissive, quote unquote, doting wife. And he still cheated. He still cheated. She just didn't leave. She decided to stay and put up with that bull crap. Because in those days, due to different things like Christianity and stigma and women not having the resources that they have now to up and leave, she couldn't go nowhere. So these women just accepted the bull crap that these men brought to the table. So no, this isn't some fantasy fairy tale land where everything was bubblegum and roses back in the day. They were the Brady Bunch. It was like Leave It to Beaver. No, it was still very, very bad. Boomers were just a part of this silent generation. So they just shut the hell up and endured this mess. They weren't outspoken like we are. They weren't able to assert themselves like we are today. So do not romanticize this bull crap and let these people tell you that there's something wrong with the newer generations when the reality is these dudes back in the day were on that throwback dust as well. Okay, I want to look at this next clip of this old woman in a walker talking about her husband she's been married to for 70 years, still cheating, y'all. Child, so let's watch this and then we'll talk through it.
Grandma swears my granddaddy is sneaking out the window to cheat on her.
I can't tell you who
Grandma, look at granddaddy.
I can't tell you who the whores are. Ask him to tell you.
I can see it. See it.
That's as good as you can get him back in there. Ask him who the whores he slips out here at night. Get out of bed with a woman he been married to 70 years. And he tipping out on me, still tipping out on me.
Grandma, I don't think he going nowhere.
You don't think?
I don't think he going nowhere, Grandma.
I know. I ain't telling you what. God be my witness. I know. And he know I know. He gets up and tip out on me through the night.
Grandma, I don't think he know. Grandma, I don't think he know.
He know what?
I don't think he know.
He do know. He
Grandma,
know.
He ain't tipping out nowhere, Grandma.
This is not your husband.
No,
this is your granddaddy.
Child, this ain't even funny.
This ain't even funny. I know that the TikToker who recorded this got a big old laugh out of this. This is PTSD. This is sad. This is trauma. Y'all, our aunties and grandmas and great grandmas, they are not okay. They are not okay. All of these women are part of this older generation where rder dies and told to accept any old bull crap and to just shut up and passively hold these men down even when they were being severely mistreated. They've been dealing with this for decades, dealing with being miserably married. They struggled. Many of them muled just to get by because they had to work to help sustain the households. And on top of that muling, they still were mistreated, cheated on, and had to deal with side babies and STDs and stuff like this. She's 70 years old, talking about he going to cheat with whores, y'all. And this man can't even walk. He look crippled, blind, deaf, and dumb. He don't look like he can walk. He don't even have the capability to be mobile enough to cheat. But she's dealing with PTSD and trauma of years of mistreatment. So she's convinced that he's still doing that. And y'all know how many Black women I've heard say that their aunts and great aunts and their grandmas and mothers had to deal with this, and that the men in their families all had secret families and side chicks appear out of nowhere, especially when these dudes pass away. They just pop up at the funeral. I've said this before. I'm convinced that there's going to be a bunch of bastard children that show up at my father's funeral when he passes away, now that he's aging and getting older. So no, this is not new. These dudes been dusty. Okay. I want to look at this last clip of this woman who talks about how her grandfather was also a throwback dusty, who totally abandoned his family and started a new one with a white woman and even wrote a book about his life and is pretending like they don't even exist. Child. So let's watch this and then we will talk through.
Seeing stuff like this just really hits home for me about how a life really is a simulation. I first figured this out when I was like 6 or 7, and I remember hanging out with my grandma and we would watch these talk shows. So it's like back in the 90s, it was like Sally Jesse Raphael, and we were watching this show called Lisa, and all of a sudden I hear a glass drop on the floor, and I turn and I look at my grandma and she's staring at the TV screen. And so I go, what grandma? And she goes, that's your grandfather on this TV show randomly. And he's sitting next to this non-melanated woman. And they are talking about the book that she has just written about his life. So my grandfather was a Vietnam vet who had gone to jail for murder for like 25 years. And in the meantime, my grandma's like going up to the jailhouse, got pregnant with twins during conjugal visits, like being a ride or die for this man to the detriment of everyone else around. She is like going up to upstate New York to, try and make this 25-year sentence work with my grandfather. My grandma literally could not be in love with anyone else. She could not choose herself or anything like that. She was just this man, this man, this man. And so he had answered this woman's personal ad. So back in the day, instead there was no swiping. So lonely women would put personal ads in the newspaper looking for men. So he responded to her personal ad. She fell in love with him, figured out whatever legal, I don't know if she was a lawyer or anything like that, figured out whatever needed to be figured out, and she got him out of prison. And so she wrote this book about his life, and I ordered the book recently. And there is no mention whatsoever about the entire family tree that this man had before meeting this woman. It's like his life started when he met this person. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter that he had had a whole entire family and this person who was holding him down or anything like that. That was his simulation. That was his reality. So he got out of prison, married this woman, had kids, and completely started a whole new simulation. And it's so surreal because as I'm reading this, I'm learning things about my family that I did not even know. I didn't even know my great-grandparents' names or who they were, but I'm finding out from this book. So for the people who are victims of somebody restarting their simulation like this, please also know that you have the ability, as much as painful as it will be, to restart your simulation, something else entirely. They're not the only ones who get new sims, okay?
I can't, y'all. I cannot. Yeah, I told y'all. And she talks about back in the 90s, seeing her grandfather on Sally Jesse Raphael. After her grandmother was a ride or die for years, held her grandfather down while he was in prison for decades, for 25 years, y'all. So she visited him so frequently, she even wound up pregnant with twins after one of their conjugal visits. And in return, this fool abandoned her, abandoned his children, and married a white woman and just pretends that this whole lineage he created does not exist. He picked up life and started all over without a care in the world. And he don't even acknowledge his entire family tree. He doesn't acknowledge his former wife and his children. He just went for a pack of cigarettes one day and never came back, just like a Dusty. And this woman uses this story to illustrate how easy it is to start a new life. She calls it a simulation. I'm going to call it what it is. I'm going to call a thing a thing. This is simply Wack Men's MO. This is Wack Men's typical bullish. This is what the Wack community romanticizes and calls old school love and traditional values and what they want to go back to from back in the day. Oh, I want love like my grandparents. That's relationship goals. That old school throwback love. They don't make them like they used to. This is what Black women love to romanticize. Because, yeah, their grandparents and aunties and uncles and great-grandparents were married for years. But in reality, y'all, they were all miserably married. Their marriages included struggle love. It included mistreatment, poverty. Some of them even dealt with jailbirds. Our grandmas were ride or dies, and they rode it out through thick and thin. And in return, all they got for their labor and loyalty was heartbreak, infidelity, and abuse. This is not okay. As soon as this dude could, he ran off with a white woman and abandoned the family and responsibilities he created like they don't exist. This is that old school Wack love, y'all. This is what they pedestalize and romanticize. So younger Black people will look at this on the surface level and will see these marriages that lasted for decades back in the day. So this is supposed to be the goalpost that they promote other Black women should strive towards. When in reality, all these women were doing was enduring abuse and mistreatment. They were silently suffering. They were dealing with throwback dust. These dudes were not financially stable, neither were they faithful. Many of them were emotionally, mentally, and oftentimes physically abusive. And a lot of these women that they pat on the back for being loyal and consistently faithful were dogged the F out and they simply couldn't leave. Many were financially dependent on the men that they were with, so they didn't have the resources to escape these toxic situations. Others were crippled by the stigma of divorce and were facing religious constraints that told them they had to be ride or dies and endure suffering and remain married no matter what. Most of these women were simply miserably married. Child, thank you so much for listening to that. I'm curious to hear you guys' thoughts on this. Do you have grandparents and great-grandparents and elders in your family that surface level look like they have had a strong, long-lasting marriage, but behind closed doors, they were also miserably married and silently suffering? If so, share your thoughts on this and share your perspectives. Thank you so much for listening. See you guys. Bye.
Even if you think I should, bitch, bigger, I don't give.
foremothers, if y'all come across a red iPhone, you can please bring it to the sound stage. Red iPhone, appreciate it.